Hi, chat. Can you hear me now? Sorry for the technical difficulties. Thanks for the check-in, chat. Looks like our top 4 match is starting soon between Takami and Dongris playing DTE Mew versus La Zone Tina. But while that's getting started, I guess we can cut to me. For a sec, I was talking on mute. Sorry about that. This is a rookie casting debut for the late night series. I'm super excited to be here. It is an honor to cast the late night series, obviously the biggest online event that Pokemon TCG has to offer. I am really thankful to be here with you all for the top 4 of the EU late night today. And it is also kind of an important one because there is the Barcelona SPE this weekend. A lot of the players in the late night today are probably going to that event. So it is a sneak peek of sorts to see what kind of meta we should be expecting at the top tables at that event. Thank you for your patience while I get all this figured out, but I am super, super excited to be here, to be casting. It is a dream of mine to do so. Chat is saying, I can only hear you in one ear. If anyone else can confirm that, it might be on my end, to be honest. This is kind of a trial run of sorts. This is my first time casting late night, so thank you for your patience through these technical difficulties. We'll try and get those sorted so I can keep doing this gig in the future. Hopefully the music and voice balance is also okay. I think I know how to fix this. Need to set that to mono, and hopefully that fixed it. I appreciate all of you beta watchers, beta testers, making sure that I'm all good for this stream. Thank you very much. Oh, we've got no sound now. One more second. Okay, great. Looks like the match is ready to begin, though. Let's cut to it. We will be watching from the perspective of Takami with the Mew DTE deck. So Mew DTE is kind of an interesting deck in that a lot of the top players think it's the better version of Mew over that Fusion Mew. The strengths of Fusion Mew, though, is that they have an out to Spiritomb and they can attack turn 1, which Mew DTE can't. but Mew DTE has a lot more space to work with. They're able to play more disruption cards, play more copies of that Path to the Peak, play more Judge and Iono and whatnot. And I think that gives it a lot of power in the eyes of top players, as long as you don't run into that Spiritomb. So we see the starting hand from Takami. Not the best, but not awful either. There's no VIP pass in hand, and it looks like his opponent, Dongris, is going to go first with that Lost Zone Tina. This Lost Zone Tina is playing the Spiritomb, though, so if Dongris is able to get that Spiritomb out turn 1, this may become an issue, but no, not able to find it, has a bit of a slow start. Takami drawing into his second Steel Stone, not exactly what you want to see, but lots of items to be played here. Can thin down that deck, that hand to 0. Can also choose to Steel Stone for VIP pass before anything else if they so choose. That honestly might be the play, because there are a lot of tools in this hand that can't be used unless you get some more Pokemon. Takami thinking through the actions, thinking through how to play this hand down as close to 0 as possible. Gonna get a Tails on that Cryptomatic, not going to be able to get that VIP pass that they want, but hand still not too bad. Going to be able to grab a Mew off this Feather Ball and potentially Ultra Ball for a Genesect, slam a Seal Stone down, maybe draw to 3. But I think Takami really thankful that there is no Spiritomb in play right now, because it means he has access to this Fusion Strike system from the Genesect V, going to be able to draw more cards, going to be able to set up this board. And once DTE Mew is set up and attacking, the Spiritomb is less of an issue for sure. Takami thinking about using that Star Alchemy on that Forest Steel Stone to maybe grab VIP pass, to maybe draw more cards, but instead going to choose to just Ultra Ball the cards away. And that hand is not super great. There's not that many cards that you want to be playing here in this situation. So this Mew VMAX can't be played at all, but you do need to save it, which means you will be drawing one less card throughout the game, or throughout this turn at least. We see the Star Alchemy come out. I feel like it has to at this point. You need more of a board to work with here. You need that DTE in hand in case that Spiritomb comes down next turn. And actually, 2 Genesect are prized, something that I didn't even notice at first, but that is going to be a problem. But we do see DTE ready to go and Mew VMAX ready to go. So I think the fact that 2 Genesect are prized are not going to hurt the chances too much of Takami going into the Mew V, not fearing anything, given that Dongris had a slower start, no cards in the Lost Zone. This Mew V is probably pretty safe. And we'll see the pass on over. Chat, how are we feeling today? Who do we expect to win? Honestly, this is my first time streaming on YouTube. I wonder, I'm not used to it. I wonder if you can hold predictions the same way you can on Twitch chat. So we see Dongris take his turn, but given no comfies in turn 1, no cards in the Lost Zone, this might be a slower game in general. We may see something along the lines of Abyss Seeking to just throw some cards in the Lost Zone, build out that hand. And you would think that this matchup is pretty favored with the Spiritomb in Dongris's deck, but no. Just a pass on over, nothing that they can do with an 8-card hand And I think Takami is going to be pretty happy with that. We see the boss's orders come down. We see the choice belt already in play for this Mew VMAX. Going to do that perfect number to knock out the only threat on the board right now. Using that attack from the Genesect V, the Techno Blast. This game may end quick, even though it's in theory favored for the Mew player. Sometimes those hands are just unplayable, and that is Pokemon for you. So we see the knockout, courtesy of Mew VMAX's Cross Fusion Strike for Technoblast, doing 220 given the DTE reduction and the Choice Belt addition. And that is just perfect math. And given that Donruss just passed last turn, I don't know. I don't think you can really come back from this situation. Maybe if you had a Drapion in your deck, you could go for Drapion and then hope that your opponent can't find the Lost City. That could be a situation, a way to come back. But Donruss just doesn't play the Drapion, only plays a Spiritomb as your Mew counter. And it's usually a pretty good counter too, but oh, we see another pass on over. I wonder if there's any like technical difficulties that are happening right now. Let me go ahead and check and see myself and read what's going on. And that is the end of the game. I think that was just a legitimate pass. I don't think it was a glitch or anything, but let me get confirmation on that. That being said, though, with PTCGL, you can never really count anything out. Sometimes those types of glitches happen where you are not allowed to do anything and the game doesn't let you play, and we'll see how that can get we'll see if that can get resolved. Just one moment, chat. Let me read through some messages so I can try and see what's going on. I'm still waiting on word to see if that match counted or if it was a bug in PTCGL. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and turn on some music for you all. I might need to turn it down a little bit compared to my volume. Let me know if that sounds good for you, chat. if that is a good balance between music and my voice. It looks like there is a judge call being handled right now. Thank you, chat. Yeah, so I'll get back to you with that judge call as soon as possible, just to go over what exactly occurred and what the resolution will be, if we have to start that game over or if it still counts as a win for Takami. The matchup is pretty favored for Tina if they are playing the Spiritomb, I think, given that Takami's playing DTE Mew and not Fusion Mew. It does raise an interesting question, though. Music could be a little louder. Okay, let me see if I can turn that up. It does disagree. Okay, well, let's maybe find a compromise somewhere. How about this? But DTE Mew doing well in this tournament, already moving to top 4, does raise an interesting question because it didn't do well in Pittsburgh. But maybe there's just like not enough Spiritomb in the format that it could have a good showing in Barcelona. I think a lot of top players feel like DTE Mew is a little bit stronger than Fusion Mew. You have a little bit more control over your games. As long as you don't run into that pesky Spiritomb, it is a strong deck with being able to do those nice clean numbers of 220 and 280 with enough tablets and belts, and just disrupting your opponent over and over again. It is a really strong combination. Of course, pesky Spiritomb, though, pretty much a hard counter to DTE Mew. We'll see if DTE Mew is able to overcome it or not in this set. Does anyone in chat have any predictions for what will show up in Barcelona this weekend? Will it be pretty much the same as Pittsburgh, or will it be a little bit different? I'm not too sure myself. Last weekend we just did see Kyogre take it all in Pittsburgh in the hands of Andrew Estrada. I think Kyogre is a very strong deck, but a very hard one to pilot, especially given the time limit of 50 minutes at regionals. Very, very difficult. I personally have played Kyogre in the past and probably would not play it again for that reason, because of how difficult it is. I'll have to set up a scene that lets me browse through the metagame and the standings and whatnot to show you all what the metagame looks like for these late night events. I'll do that a little bit later, but for now I can just read them out loud and tell you that Tina Lost Zone box is still the most popular at that 16%, and there were 3 in top 8. So it's still showing off in strong force. Chat says Chanpao's first win in Barcelona. It's possible. I think Chanpao is definitely a solid deck. I think it's probably tier 2, but it could totally win in the right conditions and in the right hands. I mean, Shenpao did top 8 already in Pittsburgh, so it's not too far off, just a couple best of 3s away from taking it all home. I want to say new deck pop up, but Lost Box is just so good. That is true. Lost Box with the Sableye Lost Mine does prevent a lot of decks that would normally be good, just unplayable, unfortunately. And there's too much Sableye in the format to take an auto loss. Like in NAIC last season, we did see Alex Szymanski, for example, bring a deck that took an auto loss to Sableye. He played that United Wings deck and actually took it pretty far, was in contention for top 8 for a while until hitting Sableye and Rapid Strike Urshifu back to back to back. So sometimes there are decks like that that are kind of gate kept right now by Sableye. I think Zorobox and that United Wings are two prime examples of decks that are really cool, would be cool in the format, but just currently there's too much Sableye to warrant playing them and hoping to do well. Given that both Lost Zone Tina and Turbo Lost Box and Kyogre are all still fairly popular, and you can reasonably hit like 3 of them in a tournament. I believe that Judge Call is still getting resolved. No one has reported that game yet as a win, so hopefully we can get that result over to you soon. What deck is worth building for live back to the game after 2 years? That's a great question. It kind of depends on what kind of decks you like and what kind of decks you're able to afford, I guess, with your in-game currency. If you check out what did well in Pittsburgh this past weekend, let me drop a link in the chat for you all. There are some good options there. And in terms of easier decks to play, Lugia and Miraidon are probably easier, while still being very, very viable, very, very good, of course. And I think both look to be viable for the next few sets at the very least. So they will be, if you build towards them, they will stick around for at least a while. United Wings is what I'm playing right now. It is so much fun, and I'm praying Jirachi makes it playable. Yeah, that would be very, very cool. Jirachi is a card that's coming out in Paradox Rift, and it is kind of a Sableye counter. The problem though is if that Iron Hand EX is too good, United Wings may suffer for that instead. Like, you might be able to counter the Sableye, but now you have to deal with Iron Hands EX taking 2 prizes on your little birds, which is very, very sad. So we'll see if that comes to be true. If you've follow the Pokemon Twitter scene, currently there's some explosions happening about Iron Hands EX right now. Jake Gearhart, for example, believing that this Iron Hands EX is very broken and is probably going to ruin the game, which could be true. I could definitely see that happening. Do you think the TM Devolution is going to be broken for Lost Box? I think it is very good in a vacuum. Like, if that card alone was added to our current format, it would be very, very good. I don't know if Lost Box will be able to overcome Iron Hands though, because Iron Hands is very similar to Stoutland EX, which Lugia used to play last format before rotation, and it was really tough for Lost Box to deal with. So if Iron Hands ends up being kind of similar, then I don't know if the Devolution TM will be enough to keep Lost Box around. Maybe Lost Box will find a way to stick around anyways. I'm enjoying this weird mashup deck of Mew and Charizard EX. I did see that. That was a very cool deck. Lost Zone Zard EX, Mew Zard EX. Definitely pretty neat. And we see a message. I always play Turbo Lost Zone Box, and I was wondering if I should switch to Kyogre. Personally, I'm a big Turbo Lost Box fan. I played it to NAIC. I got top 8. That's my best finish ever with Turbo Lost Box. And I don't think you need to switch to Kyogre. I think Kyogre is probably a little bit stronger in the meta and maybe stronger in best of 1. But it is so much more difficult that and time consuming that I honestly don't know if it's worth it. If you play Kyogre, you can never really concede early. I won't say never. It's hard to concede early. Okay, judge call is clear. The next is starting soon. Great. But if you play Kyogre, you can't. Your opponent won't concede early and you won't concede early, so you're just going to tie a lot. And tying is really, really rough at regionals where you need a lot of points to move on to day 2. Rotom decks, Rayquaza GX decks, Lost Marks. That was a very, very fun era for sure. Iron Hands EX. What does Iron Hands EX do? For Lightning and 3 colorless, it does 120, and if you take a knockout, you get an extra prize. It's similar to Stoutland V from last format. So if that card is good, it definitely limits how good one prize your decks are. Japanese Curly Zard deck is super fun and surprisingly good. Yeah, that's definitely one on my radar to test. I will be going to Sacramento, going to Toronto. Should I play Fish in Turbo Lost Zone box since you did 12-0? I'm a big fan of Lumineon V. I think it makes the deck really consistent. You can get turn 1 Cram very, very often. You can get turn 2 Sableye fairly reasonably. You can get turn 1 Greninja, turn 1 Dragonite fairly often, and Lumineon definitely helps with that and helps just brick starts in general. Chorus is obviously a very, very important card in the deck, so playing more outs to it makes sense. I will say though that Lumineon was probably best in that meta specifically because Lumineon is really good into Guardy and Mirror. Those decks are decks that can't punish you for benching the Lumineon V. And now that those decks are a little bit less popular, now there's Lost Zone Tina, now there's Lugia, now there's all these other decks that come into the mix, I think it is a little bit less strong as it used to be, but I think my current Turbo Less still would play Lumineon. Cyrus Davis played a cool deck to Pittsburgh, tried it out and got turn 2 Sableye 7 games in a row. Yeah, the Turbo Sableye Lost Zone Zard. I don't know what to call it, but it's basically Turbo Sableye with, I believe, 4 Pokestop and just go ham. I like that deck a lot. It's very cool. I'm not sure if it is super, super well placed in the meta to like make a deep run to like win Barcelona, for example, but it's definitely at least tier 2. It's definitely viable for sure. So it looks like the judge call was cleared and Takami still gets the win for that one. I'm not sure if there was a bug or not for Don Gris. There may have been still, because we did see them just pass and not be able to do anything. Unfortunate if that's the case. Well, unfortunate either way, really. If he was bricking or if it was a PTCGL glitch, which can happen from time to time. But that being said, Don Gris is not out of it yet. He does have that Spiritomb in the deck, so Takami could still definitely lose this best of 3. Been playing Tina Lost Box last day or so, just getting used to the game. It doesn't seem as fast as before. I think it depends on what format you're talking about for sure, because I think it kind of waxes and wanes throughout the years depending on what comes out and whatnot. A lot of people are expecting Paradox Rift to really shift the meta and make it a lot faster. We'll see if that turns out to be true, but if that's the case, it'll be a lot faster in November. But currently, yeah, I think decks are a little bit bricky, which makes for some long games. Tina, for example, can Abyss Seeking and kind of stall the game, and not a lot of things can one-shot the Tina early on. So it takes time for the decks to set up, especially Tina, Lost Box variants in general, Guardy. Those are decks that are slower for sure. Whereas Lugia will probably be a little bit on the faster side. What are my thoughts on Rapid Strike at the moment? I played Rapid Strike to Pittsburgh. I went 5-3-1. It was okay. I don't really blame the deck at all. I made some mistakes from being a little bit tired, unfortunately, and definitely could have made day 2 if I was playing a little bit better. But it was an okay play to Pittsburgh, but given how much Mew and Lugia showed up, which are very, very awful matchups for that deck, I probably wouldn't consider it bringing it to other regionals at the moment. That being said, for locals though, it could definitely be a great pick. It just kind of depends on what your local meta is like, and you just kind of have to make that read. But if your locals is low on Lugia and low on Mew, it could be one of the best decks to play to get yourself like a first at a cup or a challenge, because I think the good matchups for that deck are very good and the bad matchups for that deck are very bad. Would I recommend Pidgeot V or Raikou V or Lumineon V in Turbo Lost Box? I think right now, given that Lugia is popular, I would probably play Raikou and Lumineon. I think I definitely see merit though for Raikou plus Pidgeot instead of Lumineon as well. I think Pidgeot is more, what's the word for it? It's easier to play down. You don't have to worry about it being a liability. So if you are not worried about drawing into Colress, then I think Pidgeot definitely has merit for sure. I don't think I would cut the Raikou, but it's definitely an option. It's not unreasonable to cut it, but it's definitely possible. In my opinion, what is the B diff? I think probably Lost Tina still, but it's hard to say. I don't think there's anything that's like super strong and super S tier right now. Looks like the match will be starting soon. We do see an invite go out. Hopefully we can get you that match, get you some content real quick. I've heard talked about the new Goldango being a new better Chien-Pao. I think in a vacuum it is a better Chien-Pao, but Chien-Pao Baxcalibur could have access to Iron Hands EX. If that ends up being good, Chien-Pao could be the new better Chien-Pao, which would be pretty funny. Okay, we are in game. We see the coin flip. The coin flip not gonna matter because we are playing a best of 3. Dongris did lose the first one, and I believe choosing to go second actually in this matchup. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think going first against DTE Mew is really good because it stalls them from attacking. I could see the second making more sense if this was Fusion Mew, who can get that attack going second on their first turn. But instead, Takami is going to be gifted with this start. No VIP passes, so not exactly the hand they want to see, but it's not a bad hand. It's definitely playable. 2 Nest Balls. It's going to grab some Genesects and get those ready to go. It is interesting that there is a Path to the Peak and a Lost City in hand. I don't know which one they will choose to play. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe they'll just play both by playing down one and then vacuuming away the other and just getting rid of them to draw more cards. That could definitely be an option. And again, I think 2 Genesect are prized 2 games in a row. We'll see if that comes back to haunt Takami. But yeah, Dongris not going first, not being able to put that Spiritomb down right away, it's going to put Takami in a pretty good position to attack next turn. And I think Spiritomb is kind of your win condition. So the fact that Takami is able to go ahead and just draw cards already attached to DTE to Mew, all they need next turn is a Mew VMAX. Gonna put them in a really strong position, regardless of whether or not Spiritomb comes down. So we see Takami drawing up to 5 thanks to that Fusion Strike system. Has a Mew VMAX in hand, has a Cramomatic in hand. It's already looking pretty dire for the Lost Zone Tina player. But with Spiritomb and Hand Disruption, there's always a way. So we'll see if Dongris is able to come back from this one. Takami just going to end the turn and pass it on over. So we'll see. Hopefully Dawn is able to play the game this time. Hopefully they are able to make some actions. We see a Comfy in the active. Flower selecting would be something that you can do. But maybe this is just another PTCGL thing. That would be very sad. Thank you for your patience, chat, while we figure this one out. In the meantime, let's answer some of your questions. Have I seen the top 8 Charizard EX deck? I have. It's really cool, for sure. And we just see a pass without even a flower selecting. I think there has got to be another PTCGL bug in this case. Man. I don't know what's happening. Hopefully it's not like happening to everyone, but it does suck that it's happening to this one player. So I think there will be another judge call probably. I will keep an eye on that. I will keep an eye on that and see what the outcome is and keep you posted as soon as possible. In the meantime, while I keep an eye on it, let me answer your questions. So, have I seen the Charizard deck? Yes, I have seen it. It's very cool. I think Radiant Zard in the deck or Radiant Serena in the deck could be pretty neat. If you're worried about Lost Box, playing Radiant Serena could make that matchup very favorable. Or if you're worried about other matchups, playing Radiant Zard with like a choice ball or something could be really cool. We'll see if people are able to take that list and adapt it for Barcelona and potentially onwards. It's probably not that good for Barcelona because you don't have those 70 HP Charmanders yet. But once you get those, I think the deck is very playable. At least tier 2, if not higher. I have to do some testing though to be sure that it's tier 1. I haven't played enough games with it. So let's see what other questions are. What would Champao look like with Iron Hands? Do you just splash lightning energy? Yes, I think you would just play like 2 lightning energy, and the reason you're able to get away with that is because they are releasing a new item card that lets you search for energy. It is similar to Professor's Letter, but you discard a card and you search your deck for 2 energy. I think that card is already pretty good in Champao regardless. So playing 1 or 2 copies of that new card along with 2 lightning, I think you would just attach the lightning energy manually for turn and then follow that up with Baxcalibur charging up all the colorless costs of that Iron Hands. Is Drapion V needed in Lost Zone Turbo? It's not needed, no. It kind of depends on how much Mew you expect in the meta. Good Mew should be able to play against Lost Zone Box Turbo without Drapion. Yeah, I think I agree. Without Drapion, I think good Mew players are favored into that matchup. It's doable. For example, if Lost Zone Box is drawing really hot, they can knock out with Raikou turn 1. You can use Rope to like hit a Genesect or a Mew with Raikou, and then use Greninja and then Sableye to clean up 2 more Genesects and just take 6 prizes without Drapion in general. But it is definitely harder. I think the matchup is probably like 65-35 favored for Mew if you don't play Drapion. And it does end up being like 50-50 or maybe even 60-40 favored for Turbo Lost Box if you're playing the Drapion. Kyogre Lost Box doesn't need Drapion. Yeah, that's also true. Kyogre is essentially another game plan you can have into Mew. Are there tournaments on live like online? I don't think so, unfortunately. Without Kyogre, without Drapion, can win versus Mew, it's 50-50. I think you can still definitely win, but I think you're unfavored. Especially, it depends on how much healing they play too. If they play no healing, then yeah, it might be 50-50. But if they're playing the 2 switch cards or Crystal Cave or both, it can get really tough. What cards am I most excited for from 151? That's a good question. The new Charmander for sure. Mew EX is definitely good in both Guardy and Lugia probably. And besides that, I'm not sure what else. I think Blastoise has potential, but it might be just not good enough with Raikou around. But the new Charmander and the Mew EX are definitely the most playable cards. And I think the Clefable is really cool, but I don't know if it'll actually find a home and if it'll actually find a deck, the one that lets you take another prize. So I don't know if that one will actually be played. Mew EX is a really cool attacker in Guardy and in Lugia because you get to use Moonlight Shuriken against Lost Box decks if they don't have the Manaphy down. So okay, let me go ahead and see what's happening with the pairings. Give you a little pairings update. Takami does move on to 2-0 in that set. Unfortunately, not much of a game. We didn't see their opponent play pretty much at all. But hopefully we have an actual game for the finals, because it will be interesting to see if DTE Mew is actually a contender, if it's actually something to be worth worrying about for the Barcelona SPE coming up this weekend. Jinx EX with new Hypno is very spicy. It is very spicy. I don't know how good it'll be though, because man, having Hypno on the bench and Drowsy on the bench to get targeted down by Sableye doesn't sound good. And then even though Jinx EX can take a knockout, a lot of things can knock it out in return, so it might just be a prize race regardless. But it is very cool. Paradox Rift looking like it's going to have some 6 playables. Yes, for sure. Paradox Rift I think will change the meta quite a bit. And Mew EX being splashed in Japanese lists everywhere. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason we didn't see any Turbo Lost Box make it to top 16 at Yokohama this past weekend, is because Mew EX does kind of work well against it. Okay, so it looks like the other top 4 is still playing. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, maybe get a snack before that is finished, and then we'll come back around for the finals, see if DTE Mew is worth its salt, is something to keep an eye on for this weekend. Probably is, regardless of those finals, but either way, I'll be back in just a moment. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for chatting. I'll keep the music on, and feel free to drop any questions in the chat as well. I'll get back to them when I get back. See you all in just a bit. Welcome back, chat. We are about to get started with our finals of the EU Late Night today. The finals featuring Takami, which we just saw on stream, with the DTE Mew deck versus No Soness with Lost Zone Tina. Another Lost Zone Tina deck. Quite a few in the top 8 this time around. Let me go ahead and pull up that list. And this time around, No Soness not playing that Spiritomb, not playing that Drapion. No explicit counter for the Mew VMAX deck. Let's see if that matchup still holds up. I believe the DTE Mew should be favorable given that there are no explicit counters. But still anyone's match, still anyone's game. Anyone can take it all home. If anyone knows, by the way, how to pronounce some of these names, if I'm pronouncing them wrong, feel free to update me. I do not mind being corrected. But I believe both players are from Japan, which is very, very cool. We'll see if these Japanese lists make their way to Barcelona this weekend, if people will get inspired by these finals. But it looks like they are starting. So let's go ahead and see how this match goes. Second, and we are in. We're going to be from the perspective of Takami yet again, and No Soness going to go first, going to win the coin flip. Starting Giratina V is not ideal. Let's see if he can get out of it. Ideally go into a comfy, get some cards into that Lost Zone thanks to that flower selecting, start threatening some powerful attacks like that Star Requiem as soon as possible. We see the nest ball come down. Probably going to do a little bit of prize checking to make sure nothing important is prized. As the audience here, we're not going to know for sure what No Soness is up to, what No Soness is going to grab. Going for that Radiant Greninja, probably has an energy in hand to build out the hand, maybe go for a VIP pass, hopefully. Concealed cards, discarding a Psychic, drawing 2. And we see another Nest Ball come down, probably for a Comfy this time. But does he have the switch out? Another Giratina V coming down, and a Psychic Energy attached to the Giratina V, along with the Pass to the Peak. That turn 1 Pass to the Peak can be pretty hurtful for the Mew VMAX deck. Similar to a Spiritomb, but there are ways around it. We see that Takami already has the Forest Seal Stone in hand and has the potential to go for a Chromatic, to go for an out to this Pass to the Peak, potentially going for a Lost Vacuum, so that they can start using those Fusion Strike system to draw some cards. Chromatic away, a Switch card potentially makes sense to me. Already having 2 Switch card in hand, not really needing it. It is pretty impactful in the matchup, to be honest, given that Greninja can Moonlight Shuriken into Sableye, taking out some free knockouts on some Genesects. But at this point in the game, all you need to do is draw. You need to draw really badly. Just get rid of the resources in your hand to make hitting your outs as good as possible. Hitting those VIP passes, start building out that board, making sure that you can attack the next turn, and so on and so forth. Cramomatic is able to get Lost City. We'll see if they choose to go for Lost City or Lost Vacuum here. Both potential options to getting rid of this Pass to the Peak. And looks like Takami will go for that Lost City. Probably thinking about maybe playing that Ultra Ball. We see Feather Ball come down for a Mew V. We see Ultra Ball come down. What will Ultra Ball discard? Probably this Mew VMAX and the Switch card for a Genesect V, I would have to imagine. Now here is the question. Does Takami use that Seal Stone to draw to VIP pass so that first Fusion Strike system draws more cards? Or does he just choose to draw 3 off this first Genesect? I think probably just draw 3. He's not looking for too much here. Just needs a couple more basics on the bench to set up for next turn. And we see Ultra Ball, Tablet, Feather Ball. Interesting. So Takami could again go for another Genesect with the Ultra Ball, or could choose to use that Forest Sealstone right away to draw into more cards. I think both are pretty valid options. I don't know what is technically better. Both have their pros and cons. Second Genesect V gonna come down. Fusion Strike System for 4 this time. Takami really looking for VIP Pass, gets it. Now just needs basically double Turbo Energy for next turn. We see that actually one Mew V is prized. Gonna burn away some of these resources, but not benching that 4th Genesect V. Just going to choose to play down another Mew V. Set up that board regardless of whether or not this active Mew V somehow gets knocked out or anything like that. And we see the third Fusion Strike System come into play, drawing 6 now. Takami still doesn't have a double Turbo Energy for next turn, which could be a little bit scary. I think Takami is thinking about playing this Judge or Iono to draw more cards so that they can save onto the Forest Sealstone, but maybe just thinking about doing it next turn, given that No Sonas has quite a small hand size and not wanting to give them any additional cards. Concealed cards again for 2 now. Pokegear, this probably needs to hit a Colress pretty badly, and it does. Big for No Sonas here. Colress going to get them into the game, potentially going to put tons and tons of cards in the Lost Zone this turn. Kind of needs to, given that they were unable to get any in the previous turn. Given that Mew V is active for Takami though, I think a Cram Attack isn't quite what you want. You probably just go for Abyss Seeking, to be honest. A little bit of a slower start from the LZ Tina deck. We see Jet Energy come into play, jetting that Comfy into the active, getting that value of Flower Selecting into Retreat. Flower Selecting comes down, meaning that this Lost Zone Tina player going up to 3 cards in the Lost Zone, still 1 away from Cramorant and still 4 away from Mirage Gate. Lost Zone Tina normally does not play any Lost Vacuum, and I think that is the same for No Sonas' list as well. Yep, that is the case. 2 Iono, 1 Roxanne, but no Lost Vacuum. So, No Sonas has to decide if they're going to go for that Abyss Seeking, or if they're going to just choose to evolve their Giratina Vs and maybe attack next turn and just pass this turn. Both Giratina Vs evolve now into Giratina V Stars, past the peak coming down in play, hoping to stall the Mew V Max player just a little bit, but unfortunately for No Sonas, Vacuum is already in the hand. We see Retreat into Radiant Greninja. No Sonas deciding that they want to keep this Comfy around for another turn, but the hand is so good for Takami. Double Turbo Energy and Vacuum already. You don't even need to disrupt your opponent's hand, I don't think. It's so small. This is a weird hand though, because like you need to attach this Double Turbo Energy to something, and you do need to Ultra Ball for your Mew VMAX in order to attack, but you don't want to give up your tablet. You don't want to give up too much hand disruption either. So how will Takami choose to play it out? Given that there is a Forest Sealstone in play still, you could potentially decide to discard your Lost Vacuum and let this path stick for another turn. That could be an option. But no, instead Takami choosing to get rid of that Judge. Getting rid of 1 valuable hand disruption card. But thankfully for Takami, he plays plenty of others, so it shouldn't be too much of a detriment quite yet. 3 Judge, 1 Iono in this deck list. We see Ultra Ball tossing away VIP Pass and Path, guaranteeing Takami the attack for this turn. And we see Takami considering the Judge, knowing that your opponent only has 4 cards in hand. It doesn't feel great to give them 4 new cards, but you do also know that they didn't really accomplish much last turn. So there is a good likelihood that your opponent has access to something like that second Chorus's Experiment. So I don't mind the Judge too much here, just to give yourself a little bit of a hand refresh. I don't think it harms you in any way, really. We see some Fusion Strike systems rolling in. I think Takami holding on to that Chromatic, knowing that he doesn't really need anything specifically this turn, but could potentially need a path out the next turn. So deciding to not play the Chromatic yet. Just chilling on this hand and using that Cross Fusion Strike for Technoblast for the knockout. Now how does No So Nest respond? Not that many cards in the Lost Zone quite yet. Only 3 if I'm not mistaken. So this Comfy gonna have to put in some work. Gonna get that to 4 then. Maybe if you find a Chorus, another Comfy, you can actually get an attack off with this Giratina V-Star, but it's not gonna be a Star Requiem. It's gotta be a Lost Impact, and I don't know if No So Nest has the resources to even attack, much less with a Choice Belt. Looking over the list from No So Nest, there is no Choice Belt, there is no Cleansing Gloves. So it's going to be really tough to get really much value from this turn at all. I think you can cram for 110. But in which case, Takami could potentially just go for the Psychic Leap to heal this Mew VMAX. And I think we're seeing the power of this DTE Mew VMAX deck. If it doesn't have to go into something like a Spiritomb, doesn't have to go against something like Drapion, it is really oppressive. This Mew VMAX has so much health, not even the 280 from Giratina V-Star can KO it. And it just has great numbers all around given access to power tablets. I believe Takami still has the resources to take a one-hit knockout on a Giratina V-Star at least one time this game. Still has access to those Choice Belts and to those power tablets. I think one was burned. One tablet was burned, but plenty to reach for a V-Star KO if they so choose. We might just see the Cram knockout. Okay, Mirage Gate coming down. It might be to the active Comfy just to retreat into Cram, or it could potentially be into Giratina V-Star, but I don't think you want to hit for 280 here. So I think it makes the most sense for Cram to come out. No So Nest definitely wants to Star Requiem a Mew VMAX at some point, but not going to happen this turn. Only 7 in the Lost Zone. Has to wait until that 10 point, but actually is going to go for that 280 onto the Mew VMAX. Very interesting play. Giratina V-Star using that Lost Impact for 280, probably Lost Zoning those 2 Water Energy. Now, how does Takami respond here? Has Boss's Orders in hand already, so I'm thinking probably just going to take this opportunity to boss up a Comfy, Psychic Leap, heal this Mew VMAX, making sure that No So Nest is not able to get value, because if No So Nest is able to take out a Mew VMAX without Star Requiem, that puts him in a great position, so I think Psychic Leap does have to be the play here. We see Choice Belt coming through. Will Takami choose to leap into the active, or will they choose to go for the knockout, or will they choose to leap into a Comfy? It looks like they might just go for a knockout here. I think Psychic Leap makes a lot of sense, but going for a knockout has its pros as well. We do know that No So Nest is only down to 3 cards. Okay, we get a Tails on this next Karmamatic, and let's see if Takami plays this boss's orders or not. Choosing to just go for the Fusion Strike system, seeing more cards before this boss comes down. We see a tablet available. I think Takami just gonna go for the knockout here, not going to let this Giratina V-Star stick around for any longer. Fusion Strike system for one more, not choosing to play the boss's orders, probably just gonna start Alchemy for another tablet. And I think this play could work out if No So Nest isn't able to really play the game and set up this other Giratina V-Star, but it is very dangerous because No So Nest is just 1 Star Requiem away from winning the game if this Cram comes in to take this cleanup knockout. Forest, Seal Stone, Star Alchemy. What does it grab for Takami? Just going to go for that tablet. I believe one tablet is all that is needed to take this knockout. Going to retreat into the Mew VMAX. Oh, that's another thing that I missed. Given that Nosonest does not have access to Sableye yet on the board and only has 3 cards in hand, I think this play does make sense now that I think about it. You don't have to leap quite yet because you can just retreat and make your opponent try and find that boss. That being said though, it does carry a little bit of risk. Nosonest, if they have the boss like that just in hand, raw, I think they'll be in a very, very good position. Do they have it? Looks like they're going to dig a little bit. Flower selecting potentially. Flower selecting top 2. They cannot play Colress's Experiment to dig for this boss's orders. If they play Colress's Experiment, they're probably going to go for a Sableye play instead. But it is imperative for Nosonest's game plan that they take this knockout on this Mew VMAX as soon as possible before it gets Psychic Leapt away. The prize route is so easy if they're able to just go 3 into 3. So Takami thinking about sending this Mew V up. Does so. Nosonest probably going to go into a second second Comfy, looking for a boss's orders or a way to get Sableye off. Maybe a Colress's Experiment into Psychic, into Sableye Retreat, or into Sableye Mirage Gate, that type of thing. We do see the Colress come down. That being said though, Nosonest, this does lock them out of the boss play, but does open them up to a Sableye Lost Mine play for the cleanup. Will they hit it? Only 7 cards in hand. Super Rod coming down. Maybe Greninja gonna go back in the deck. A couple energy are available as well. I'm not actually sure what went into the deck from that Super Rod. I imagine Greninja and 2 energy, but it could just be 3 energy. Oh, we see Mirage Gate come down. Interesting. Where do these energy go? I mean, they're just going to go to the Giratina V-Star, but I mean, that's not going to feel good going to take a 2 prize knockout here instead of a 3 prize knockout. And we see a water energy come down from Comfy, where... Okay, so Nosonest going to go for the Cram attack. Was not able to hit a Sableye attack this turn, unfortunately. And I think that puts Takami in a really good position because Takami could respond with Psychic Leap here, potentially. I think Takami is really running out of resources, though. Can't take the one-hit knockout on this next Giratina V-Star, I don't believe. I think they're down too many tablets for that. I think they're down 3 tablets already. So what do they choose to do? Their hand is also getting kind of clogged, so even if they needed those tablets to take a Psychic Leap knockout on a Comfy or something, I don't think they're going to get there. 2 past the peak in hand. Can't really play those and draw cards at the same time for a Seal Stone already having been used. So what do we attack with here? It looks like maybe the damaged Mew VMAX and just go for a Psychic Leap anyways, even though it doesn't take a knockout. Seems like both players missing a turn here. Nosonest missing that Sableye for the knockout. And looks like Takami missing the Power Tablet to knock out a bench Comfy with the Psychic Leap. I kind of think you just have to Psychic Leap anyways though, even though you don't take the knockout, because you're just not... The prize race is just not favorable for you. If you take a knockout here, you don't really have a way to respond to Giratina V-Star. You don't have enough resources in the deck to take a return KO to go down to those 0 prizes. So I think your best bet is to heal. Oh, boss up the Giratina V-Star and Psychic Leap. I think that play makes so much sense. Because not only are you healing your Mew VMAX, you're also getting a little bit of chip damage in, which lets you take the knockout the next turn. So I think this is a really great play. Probably the best play that Takami can make from this position. Psychic Leap comes down and puts Tina into the perfect range for a choice belted DTE Technoblast the next turn. And it's up to Nosonest to respond. Now that one Mew VMAX is fully healed, all that work being thrown away, all that damage from the Star Requiem being tossed to the side, that Mew VMAX going back into the deck, what can Nosonest do? Potentially Boss's orders up the Mew VMAX into Star Requiem could be an option here. And he already has 10 in the Lost Zone, so I think that's going to be the play. But how do you follow it up? How do you knock out this next Mew VMAX that will come up? This next Mew VMAX that is going to get promoted from Takami is damaged. It is in range of another Lost Impact, but Nosonest doesn't have the hand to establish another Giratina V. It doesn't have the hand to establish another attacker. So unfortunately for Nosonest, he has no way to knock out a Mew VMAX this next turn if this Giratina V-Star falls down. Even Shred from the Giratina V will only do 160, which is not quite enough to knock out a Mew VMAX, only putting up Mew V to 270 instead of 330. So we see Takami fail the Nest Ball, which is interesting. And we see maybe the Cram come down. I guess Takami is in a little bit of a weird position now. 2 Mew VMAX down already in the discard pile, so is searching for that last one pretty desperately. I don't think it's prized, but I could have missed that. Hopefully it's not. Otherwise Takami, I think, will just lose right away. Takami did have to discard 1 in the very beginning of the game to thin out the hand. 2 Paths to the Peak, definitely clogging the hand a little bit. But Takami's not choosing to use that Cram-O-Matic, instead just going to draw. Now going to Cram, and does get the head, so the Mew VMAX is not prized. Probably have to grab Ultra Ball. Makes a lot of sense here. You get the Mew VMAX, you get to thin out the deck a little bit. Sorry, thin out the hand a little bit. Getting rid of those Paths to the Peak that are really just very annoying to deal with. And now all you need is the DTE to follow up this attack. Actually, I believe you need DTE plus a power, plus a damage modifier, either a tablet or a choice belt. Okay, we do see the DTE and the belt. As soon as I speak it, it has been willed into the world. This Mew VMAX going to take the knockout on the Giratina V-Star, leaving Nosonest's bench and board in a dire position, not able to take this return knockout. We see Takami, Palpad back a Judge, just trying their best to disrupt as much as possible, playing down another tablet, I think just to thin out, potentially, just to get more cards into the hand. Does find the Judge and is able to play it this turn. And I think it's correct, your opponent only has 7 cards, already has 7 cards in hand. We know that your opponent didn't really do anything the past turn, but I think it is fair to just put them down to as low of a hand size as possible. Put them in a weird position. And we see the Cross Fusion Strike come into play. Techno Blast going to knock out this Giratina V-Star with plenty to spare. And now the position is very, very favorable for Takami. Yes, this Mew VMAX is damaged, but there's nothing on the board for Nosonest that can punish that. We'll see what Nosonest chooses to do with the Lost Zone Tina deck. Can Cram this turn, can Sableye this turn, but given that Takami is at 1 prize, is there really any option that he has? We see a Giratina V come down, with a Psychic Energy, but that's just going to get knocked out by this Mew VMAX as long as Takami has a way to retreat and switch out back into the Mew VMAX. The Giratina V can get bossed up, but we do see a Patch of the Peak. Is it combined with a Roxanne or Iono? Because that could be one way. And we do see the Roxanne. We do see the Roxanne plus the path from No So Nest. So this is the basically only way that he can come back into this game. Hope that your opponent breaks off of this Roxanne and path. Hope that this Mew VMAX can't attack for a turn. And that seems to be what is happening here. No So Nest needs to hope that his opponent whiffs, doesn't have any sort of escape rope or switch card or anything like that to reset this Technoblast, preventing the Mew VMAX from attacking, and then he can go in with the Giratina V-Star to potentially win the game that way. It's going to come down to a top deck. This hand from Takami is just not it. Mirage Gate makes sense. Thin out the deck a little bit. Make sure that no matter what supporter your opponent plays, you have the energy attached to what it needs to be, to that Giratina V-Star. Potentially Comfy as well to set up a retreat for the next turn. Actually going to retreat this turn, go into the Cram and do 110 more. Okay, interesting play here. This makes it so that if Takami... Okay, Takami... Oh yes, Takami has the Vacuum here. So that should seal it up as long as he can draw any way to switch out of this Mew VMAX. He can retreat, but he needs a way to switch back into it. And we see the Iono and the Judge come down. Judge is going to have to draw some cards, but maybe going to Vacuum first and maybe draw some more first. Or Iono could also make sense to put all those useless cards to the bottom of the deck to thin them, make sure that you don't see them. And there's only 2 cards left in deck, so it looks like it'll be guaranteed. I believe there's 1 rope left. I think there's all the switch cards are gone, but only 1 rope left. Is it there? Do we see it? Does Takami go for the win? Yes, he does. Rope. And there's nothing that No So Nest can do. Roxanne was basically the only win con that No So Nest had, but Takami having that Vacuum off the Roxanne and having the belt still attached to the Mew VMAX, even though all the tablets are gone, this is going to be perfect math to knock out the Giratina V for game. And that is game 1. So game 1 does go in Takami's favor. Kind of to be expected in a sense, given that there is no Spiritomb and no Drapion in No So Nest's Lost Zone Tina deck. And I think those 2 cards are needed for that matchup to be advantaged towards Tina. But it's still too soon to call a winner just yet. Still at least 1 more game to be played. Okay, chat, what do we think? Do we think this match will go on to 3 games? Or will it end right here, right now? Takami able to pilot that one well, retreating that damaged Mew VMAX into a fresh one, and then getting that Psychic Leap value later on in the game by bossing up the Tina, setting it up for another Technoblast without enough damage mods, so that the Tina was damaged, could get knocked out. And the Roxanne, I mean, Takami's deck was so thin and still had multiple Vacuum left. So all Takami needed was the rope or a Vacuum and was able to guarantee the win. Roxanne path, definitely the right thing to do here. Well, looks like the stream has ended. Let me go ahead and see if we can fix that. Thanks for hanging out, chat. Looks like we have some messages going on right now. And we're gonna see No So Nest stream from their perspective. So we're gonna see the Tina V-Star perspective this time around for game 2. And let's get to it. Game 2 already starting up real fast. And again, chat, that this will be from the perspective of the Giratina V-Star player now, No So Nest. We'll see if they're able to start this comeback, if they're able to push this best of series to 3 matches. No comfy start, which isn't ideal, but we do see a VIP pass though. And we do see a mulligan as well. Given 3 Psychic in the hand for No So Nest, I believe you're going to see a Greninja come out here, as well as a Comfy. Maybe a Retreat potentially after, depending on what these concealed cards give us. But no! Radiant Greninja is prized, unfortunately. Probably the one basic you do not want to be prized in this situation. You want to be able to build out that hand as big as possible, as fast as possible. We'll see if that comes to hurt him in the game at all, or if he's able to stabilize without it. It's not a necessity to be able to play the game. You don't need the Greninja to be able to beat the Mew VMAX deck, but it certainly would help. It certainly makes it harder to beat them, to get a strong footing in the game. And the hand is not looking too great. May have to play this Iono next turn just to draw some cards, but if you play the Iono, that means you're not throwing away cards into the Lost Zone with Chorus's Experiment. A message in the chat: what are the prizes if you win Late Night? So last season, if you did well enough, you were invited to the Late Night Invitational Tournament, and the winner of the Late Night Invitational Tournament got a free trip to Japan. I believe $1,500 or $2,000 value. I don't know what the prize is this season yet. I don't know if they've announced it, but I'll keep an eye out. If I do see it, I will mention it. Okay, Takami not playing a VIP pass, but does have an Ultra Ball to thin the hand and get into those Genesects, into those Fusion Strike systems to draw some more cards. Probably very happy that they're not staring down a Spiritomb right now, locking up their abilities. Probably very happy that they get to use those Fusion Strike systems as free as they please, as long as they can thin out this hand a little bit more, which, I don't know, maybe they're not able to. Only 2 Fusion Pokemon in play right now, meaning Fusion Strike system only draws up to 2 cards. 4 cards in the hand for Takami. Probably has some resources that they may want to save onto. Going to go for that hard decision though, to play that Forest Seal Zone, go for the Star Alchemy, go for the VIP pass, set up their bench a little bit more, try to get some more cards out of this turn, out of these abilities. Lost Vacuum away the Forest Seal Stone, just to thin out, draw some more cards. Actually lost Vacuuming away an Ultra Ball, which is usually a pretty valuable card to hold on to if you can help it, because you get to get the Mew VMAX next turn, and you get to thin out your hand if your hand is a little bit clunky. If you find like multiple past the peak or something, Ultra Ball would get you out of that situation, but Takami choosing to opt out of that play and instead drawing some playable cards anyways. Going to go for the Judge, which I think No Sonas is pretty happy to see in this case. But that hand really doesn't help. Even though the previous hand wasn't very good, this hand is probably worse. No supporter, no chorus. Chorus is really what No Sonas really wants this turn. Takami's board is pretty set up. No DTE in play, so that could still be a whiff next turn potentially. No Sonas, no chorus in hand. And no switch card in hand either. Choosing to go for that Garrison of V-Star over the switch cards. Basically saying that this turn is going to be pretty much just 2 flower selectings, and that's going to be about it. I mean, given that one of these Giratina Vs are going to stay unevolved, it's not going to be like last game where Takami has to fight through 2 Giratina V-Stars. All Takami needs is Boss next turn. Boss, DTE, and Mew VMAX. And Takami will be in a pretty good position. That being said, though, Path is going to come down. Takami, we've already seen burn, I believe, 2 vacuums, 1 or 2. So it's not a guarantee by any means that Takami is able to get out of this Path to the Peak Lock. Cramomatic, this could be huge. This could be game defining, this flip. Heads or tails? Which is it? Tails. Does Takami have any other outs? Are there any more Cramomatics? There is a vacuum. Okay, so Takami is safe, is able to vacuum away a path to vacuum away that path. Can draw some cards. Down to 2, draws up to 6 thanks to that Fusion Strike system. Needs Belt, needs Mew VMAX, and needs Boss. Those would be ideal if he can get all 3 of those. Potentially, Takami could just go for the knockout on the active as well. We'll see if that's what they choose to do, but instead, going to use a Cramomatic, and it's heads this time, so getting closer and closer to that ideal play that I was mentioning. We see the Mew VMAX come down, and the DTE now just needs Boss. Already has it. Bossing up that Garrison V and going to draw a couple more cards on top of that. Has exactly what they need to punish this slower start from No Sonas. And I think, man, Takami's going to be in such a great position to take this finals 2-0. Can No Sonas respond to this? $220, perfect math. Mew VMAX is just so good at killing those 220 HP Pokemon. Comfy gonna get brought up. We've still seen 0 Chorus's experiment being played this game. We see an Iono, but eventually you're gonna have to Chorus, right? That Greninja being prized turn 1, maybe that could have found you a Chorus at some point in the game. Just drawing 2 cards every turn would be so huge, but not quite there. Doesn't quite have it. Path to the Peak being played. Maybe this Iono has to be played as well. I mean, you could try to retreat and find the Chorus through your second flower selecting, but the odds of that are so low. And we do see Iono come down. Okay, we have a Chorus for next turn. We have a Jet Energy for this turn. So I think what we'll see here is Jet on the Comfy, flower selecting again. Get closer to that 10 threshold in the Lost Zone to be able to use that Star Requiem and just poke at this Mew VMAX. Hope that your opponent can't do anything off of this Iono path play. I mean, we know a couple of Vacuum are down already. No Sonas actually having a pretty hard choice too here. Whether or not to Lost Zone Mirage Gate or the last Giratina V-Star. Nosones deciding to take the Garatina V-Star. Basically needs Mirage Gate next turn. And pass on over to Takami. 2 Mirage Gate in the Lost Zone already. It's going to be tough finding 2 more to close out this game. But maybe this path Iono completely bricked your opponent. That is a way you can get back in this game. That is a way to bring this series to a game 3. Maybe their hand is filled with multiple path, you know? Could be possible. Takami does play the full 4 vacuum, but I believe 2 are down. 1 tablet coming down. I'm not sure what that means. I think that might mean that... Oh, 2 tablets coming down. And a judge. Takami deciding that he's going to go for the Psychic Leap this turn. So playing those 2 tablets preemptively, but instead going to have to attack with the fresh Mew VMAX. So those tablets not going to really help. Could have Max Miracled here regardless, but went for a little bit riskier play, and now those tablets are gone to the void. Those resources are no longer available, and that means these Garatina V-Stars are going to be a little bit trickier to deal with now. So Nosones bringing up a Comfy, really wanting to get to that 10 in the Lost Zone mark here. Has a Mirage Gate in hand already, so that Star Requiem is ready, but I think they're only at 6 in the Lost Zone. Oh, they see a Chorus, so now they're at 7. And then Chorus will get them to 9, and then the second Comfy can get them to 10 as long as they find any way to switch it out of the active. He needs a way to retreat this Comfy and switch out the next one. A Jet Energy would do it, a Switch Cart would do it. Do they find it? No, I don't see anything. Just a ton of energy. Do they even now have the energy needed to... That might be all the Psychic, so I don't even know if Mirage Gate will work without Super Rod. Okay, they do have Super Rod in hand, so I think it'll be okay regardless. But now it begs the question, does Nosones just like retreat into the other Comfy and hope that he hits a Switch Cart or a Rope or something like that? I mean, even Rope would be not that great. You really want to hit Switch Cart, but your odds just can't be that high. I don't know. There's only 2 Switch Cart in the entire list. I don't know how many are down. Didn't quite catch it when he pulled up the discard. Thinking about whether or not to do it. I don't think you have any other plays. You don't really have any other choice. You just gotta go for it. Comfy, flower selecting. Is the Switch Cart there? Oh, there's an Escape Rope. So Escape Rope does enable an attack this turn, but it's not the attack that you wanted. Escape Rope, your opponent's just gonna bring up Genesect V, and you're gonna be forced to go down this route where you take 2 prizes when you really want to be taking 3. Chorus's Experiment, also a great card for next turn, so this is a tough choice. Gonna go for the Escape Rope. And I think at this point then you attack with Sableye, right? Use your Mirage Gate, power up a Sableye. All the Psychic were gone from the deck, but has a Super Rod to put them back in. Nosones really running low on those Mirage Gates now. It's going to be tough to keep up the pressure, to keep up these attackers. And where does the damage go? If you put more damage onto the damage Mew VMAX, that is just asking for it to get leapt away. So instead, you can spread damage to the other 2 the fresh Mew Vs, to make sure that they are always in lost impact range. Looks like that is what Nosones is going to go for. putting 30 on each, making sure that there are only 280 away, and just ignoring the Genesects entirely. It makes sense to me. You don't have access to your Greninja, so you can't get value out of those Genesects anytime soon. 2 prizes is not exactly good enough to hold on into this game. You do want to take 3 prizes into 3 prizes, and now Takami is stuck. There is a path active. Takami didn't didn't bump it last turn, so it's still most likely going to be stuck here. Takami now has to choose. Does he knock out the Sableye, or does he just wait another turn? But the prize route for Nosoness is clear, and now suddenly a game that was looking very favored for Takami is swinging back in the other direction thanks to this path to the peak. Looks like Takami is retreating though. What will he retreat into? Goes into the Mew VMAX with the most damage on it. Takami probably doesn't have any switch card either, given that the switch card wasn't played to heal this Mew V. Or maybe it still has it, but decides that because it's unevolved, it's not important to heal just yet. Switch card heal might come into play later if that Mew V gets evolved ever. And now Nosoness probably going to have to star Requiem here. Can't really lost impact without access to that last Mirage Gate, and even if you did, you would be lost owning 2 energy, which would feel pretty bad. So I think you want to keep these energy onto the Giratina V-Star, just go for that lost impact, and then go for the Star Requiem this turn, and then go for the lost impact for game the next. Both those Mew Vs on the bench are damaged, so I mean, one could leap, I guess, but we'll see. Roxanne gonna come down, putting your opponent stuck at 2 cards with the Pass to the Peak in play. And we see the very last Mirage Gate. Will it get played this turn or the next? Now that this Mirage Gate is live though, maybe Lost Impact is back on the menu. Looks like they're gonna go for the Lost Impact here instead of the Star Requiem. Save that Star Requiem. I think it is a little bit weird though, because you are burning 2 of your energies, so it is possible. Okay, no, they're gonna go for Star Requiem, not going for the Lost Impact. They just put the 4 energy down here, thinking about doing the Lost Impact, but instead choosing to just hold, knowing that their opponent is out of damage mods, can't possibly knock out this Giratina V-Star. So what is the win condition here for Takami now? You can leap and make sure you don't leave any 3 prizer on your bench for this boss's orders to pick up, but if you leap, your board is kind of in shambles. Cramomatic, I believe the last tablet now. Is it a tails? Is it a heads? It's tails, so I think this path is sticking around. So Takami could potentially leap here, but the hand has got to be dead. Yep, Mew V being played, and Mew VMAX going in and just having to leap, I believe. And now this is really tough for Takami. Takami down to 0 cards in hand is going to need like Lost City to be able to draw any cards next turn, and there is no one card that bails him out except Lost City, as far as I can imagine. Lost Vacuum wouldn't be able to get played because you don't have any cards in hand, and you need kind of both Double Turbo and UV Max here. I think Nosoness trying to consider whether or not to boss here versus Chorus. I don't think the Box of Disasters damage really matters in this case. So No Nest just going to build out the hand, going to evolve that Giratina V on the bench, knowing that technically Takami is only at 2 prizes, so if you don't evolve it, there is a route with Belt and Boss if they're able to get the perfect hand, top deck velocity, draw into Boss, Belt, TTE, Mew VMAX type shenanigans. I think evolving it makes a lot of sense. So what will you see here though? Will they take the knockout on this Mew V? Or will they go for Sableye, just spread damage on the bench Mew V? No, just gonna go for the knockout here. This Giratina V-Star gonna get so damaged. Sorry, already is so damaged. The Box of Disaster is not gonna proc because that Mew V was already damaged. So Giratina V at 200 HP could be knocked out by Mew VMAX if Takami gets access to that belt, but no, the hand is super dead. Feather Ball for Mew VMAX is enough to survive a turn, but just barely. And sorry, no, actually there's a Boss's Orders plus energy. So in theory, if you didn't have knowledge of your opponent's hand, yes, it was enough to survive a turn, but no. No Nest going to pick up this game and go on to a game 3, knocking out that Genesect V, taking the last prize in style with that lost impact. No more Mirage Gate in the deck. Perfect balance of resources. Just what he needed to win the game. And we have a set. We have a set. 2 games already done between these players. 1 more to go. 1 more game and we crown the EU Late Night Champion for today. And I have to wonder if the players going to Barcelona this weekend are taking a look at this stream, taking a look at these standings and seeing how these decks are doing, seeing if there's any inspiration. We know that in Pittsburgh, Mew TTE did not show up, and we know that this Giratina V-Star build with 3 water was not very popular either. I believe Isaiah Bradner at 9th place was playing only 1 water at Pittsburgh, just to kind of bait your opponent into thinking that you have Greninja instead of actually being able to use that Moonlight Shuriken. So we'll see if these players inspire anything from Barcelona. It'll be interesting to see. But 1 more game to go. 1 more game, chat. Who do you think will win? Will it be the Tina? Will it be the Mew VMAX? I do have to think that Mew VMAX is slightly favored without any Tomb. But, I mean, as we saw last game, Path is so strong sometimes. Even when there's 4 Vacuum and a Lost City in decks, sometimes Path Roxanne just gets you there. And we're on to game 3. This flip here not mattering. And I believe Mew VMAX going to go first, given that they just lost. Has a mulligan already. No Nest with the comfy start is going to draw 2 cards off the mulligan. Huge, huge, very impactful. 2 Nest Balls, no VIP pass, but has the resources he needs to play the game. Pokegear, 2 Nest Ball, Jet Energy. Very, very good, but Takami will have the advantage by going first, as long as he can set up the board and put the pressure on starting next turn, maybe going for a boss KO on a Giratina V that could potentially put Takami in the lead. Where do I find Bradner's list? It is all, yeah, as chat says, it's not up yet on Limit List. Only top 8 so far. I believe Bradner did not post it on Twitter yet either, but if you really want it immediately, I believe Isaiah was on stream, so you could pick out the 60 from stream. Oh, and we see a Forest Sealstone right away, immediately from Takami, using that Star Alchemy without playing any Pokemon from the hand, without playing any items from the hand, probably indicating that the hand is not very good. Might have to grab an Ultra Ball here, might have to grab a VIP pass. But V-Star is down, is used, and that makes the Path stick so much more likely. Once that V-Star is gone, Path Roxanne will always be a route to win a game against a Mew VMAX player. VIP pass coming down now. Can Takami thin the hand enough to get use out of those Fusion Strike systems? I have to imagine this VIP pass will find a Genesect and a Mew. If Takami doesn't have any other basics in hand. Could be 2 Genesects though. It is 2 Genesects down, and we see Rope being played, just trying to thin out as many cards as possible. Switch card now. What else can Takami do? For a Sealstone Choice Belt, unfortunately that Choice Belt has to go on to a Genesect and not a Mew V, and this tablet gonna get burned as well, only for 2 cards, but does find a VIP pass. That will keep Takami in the game, but a lot of damage mods down already. 1 belt on a Genesect, 1 tablet down. Takami though, pretty close to threatening a knockout the next turn. Has another Mew V on the bench, just needs 1 damage mod, a DTE, a boss, and a Mew V max. Can they get there the next turn? I'm not sure. Only has 5 cards in hand, doesn't have access to that Star Alchemy anymore. And no Soness with the perfect top deck of the VIP pass. I wonder what route they're going to choose to go with this game. Are they going to go for a Moonlight Shuriken, or are they going to go for that 3-3 that we've been seeing all set long? Given that 2 Giratina Vs are going to come down with this VIP pass, and maybe even a 3rd from the hand, could potentially be the 3-3 route that we've been seeing this whole time. Two Nest Balls in hand too. No Nest was able to win that last game without the use of Greninja. Maybe he can do it again here, deciding, does he want the Greninja, does he want the Crown, does he want the Comfy? Looks like they're gonna go for Greninja. I'm surprised that he went for 2 Giratina Vs, to be honest. But maybe just wants to bench all 3, thinking that Takami... Okay, so does bench the 3rd. Takami trying to go for that boss KO on a V next turn. So I think Nosones is kind of anticipating that. Flower selecting. Path to the Peak and Sableye. Interesting choice to have to make here, but there is 1 Sableye left in deck, and Path to the Peak will be very vital in slowing down your opponent, especially now that that Forest Sealstone is gone. Chat says 2 V-Star are prized. If that's the case, that's going to be really tough. I think you're okay with 1 being prized, but 2 being prized, it's going to make finding that last one so difficult without anything like an Ultra Ball in the list. You're going to have to draw into it raw, so maybe this isn't the optimal line. Maybe going for that 3-3 route just like is too difficult to do in this situation for Nozones, because it's going to be hard to find the Giratina V-Star to be able to make that possible. So maybe he should have gone for like a Moonlight Shuriken into Sableye route. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see if he gets punished for it or not. Flower selecting again from Comfy number 2. Lots of cards in the Lasso now, but no Cramorant, so no attack going to come through unless Nozones wants to go for an Abyss Seeking, but no, actually the Jet Energy already came down, so Both Flower Selecting's used, Chorus used, and just gonna be a pass from No So Nest. We see the Mew VMAX evolved already, so that is one piece of the combo that Takami needs to be able to take a lead in this game. And we already see the boss's orders already onto a Giratina V. So Takami and a tablet, all of these resources in hand already, ready to go. We see Palpad being played and Vacuum being played to get rid of this path to the peak. Draw. So Takami, all they need is a DTE at this point. And with 4 in the deck, it's gotta be pretty likely, right? They do find it. The knockout is ready to go. Just gonna draw some more cards before going for it. Maybe get another Mew VMAX onto the field, evolving that up in the active spot. Maybe putting down another benched Mew V. Maybe preloading your hand with a Vacuum or a Lost City preemptively, thinking that your opponent's best win con is to path you out of the game. And we do see the retreat, and the 1 damage mod is able to clean up this Giratina V, and man, having 2 V-Star prized is such a problem because Mew VMAX loves to eat those 220 HP V Pokemon. That is its favorite food. So can our Lost Zone Tina player find that Giratina V-Star? Doesn't see it quite yet off of this Chorus. No So Nest is looking to be in a sticky situation. Are they going to go for a Shred? Are they going to go for a Cram Attack? Are they going to go for a Moonlight Shuriken? They could also potentially path this turn, or they could just save it to combine with a Roxanne potentially. But once Takami gets 2 DTEs down on 2 different Mew VMAXs, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Mirage Gate pulling down the water immediately, and a Grass, probably going to go for a Moonlight Shuriken this turn. Here's the question though, does it go... Do we see Moonlight Shuriken on the 2 Mew VMAXs? I guess you have to. I think the route of going through 3 Genesects might be a little bit too slow, unfortunately. No So Nest making a tough choice between Chorus and Boss's orders. But gonna go for the boss. Yeah, I think you just have to Moonlight Shuriken both Mew VMAXs here. Going through the Genesects is just a little bit too slow given how fast of a start Takami had. We're gonna see concealed cards first before the path comes down. We don't yet know if Takami has an out to this path to the peak. Flower selecting again, trying to draw into Giratina V-Star. Not quite getting there. It's got to be there somewhere, but without Ultra Balls to search it out, really, really hard to find. So path to the peak is going to come into play. I believe that is the second out of 3 paths that Lost Zone Tina has access to in this deck list. So there is still an opportunity to find your 3rd and final path of the game if Takami is able to bump this one. 90-90 on the 2 Mew VMAXs. The game is still winnable for sure, but it's getting harder and harder by the minute, especially if Takami is able to bump this path, or if they're able to attack anyways and just disrupt the hand. I mean, these Giratina Vs don't have any energy attached to them. There is no Giratina V-Star to be seen, so something like a Judge plus Knockout Greninja could work. Boss Giratina V could be an option, but could be dangerous given that Takami is down so many damage mods. You might not be able to get through a Giratina V-Star. Or just boss Giratina V, go for Horn, boss Giratina V. That's another route that Takami could take if the hand allows for it. We see Feather Ball for Mew V added to the hand. Takami has 8 cards to work with now. Normally Mew V Max does not have that many cards in hand. Not like Lost Box does, but plenty to choose from. What exactly will they do? Will they knock out this Greninja? Will they go for a boss play? Ideally, Takami really wants to disrupt the hand, though. His hand size is looking pretty big. Takami, thinking through the actions, does have the Lost Vacuum to bump that path. So next turn, Nosones really wants Giratina V-Star plus another pass to the peak down. And it's going to be a tough ask, especially with this judge coming down. What does the judge bring Nosones? Nothing really. I mean, Iono's alright. You get to see a lot more cards. And you do have 10 in the Lawson already, so you don't need to call risk this next turn. So Iono is good, but you still need to see Path and Giratina V-Star. Takami not playing the judge does mean, though, that you can't play boss in the same turn, so it is down to that odd prize, which does make it a little bit awkward. So Takami could go for something like a boss Giratina V next turn, and then a rope play. It's going to come down to, though, if Nosones can find the Giratina V-Star this turn. This will be huge. Has to dig for it. Oh, Mirage Gate or Last Path. That's a tough choice. You can't get an attack without a Mirage Gate, but you do know that there are several in the deck, whereas Path to the Peak, there's only one left. So if you want to Path at all, anytime in this game, it has to be now. It has to be, you have to take it off of this flower selection, but choosing to forgo it, choosing to just go for a more likely attack. We see Super Rod come down as well. Maybe putting that Greninja back in the deck to maybe dig a little bit deeper. Actually just choosing to put in 3 energy instead, so finding this Giratina V-Star is going to get even harder now. Nosones attaching the 3rd energy to this Giratina V might just switch card to the Giratina V without doing a comfy intermediate sub first, and just hoping that Iono draws into the Giratina V-Star. Hoping, and that is the play that Nosones is going to make. Can he draw into the 1 Giratina V-Star in the deck? This is going to be the make or break moment for the finals, and no, it's not there. Prizing 2 Giratina V-Star. It hurts so much because Nosones never saw Giratina this entire game, and now Takami with no path in play, it's gonna be, they've gotta be so close to getting a knockout here. All they need is 1 damage mod, and I know that they've used a bunch, but with 3 genetics in play, Shred, I don't think it's gonna do enough. I think Takami probably is gonna be able to find the game here. Unless they get really unlucky, unless their hand is super bricked with Path to the Peak and whatnot. We do see a judge, so it looks like that hand was a little bit cloggy. Takami, what have they found? Have they found a choice about? Have they found a power tablet? I believe there's one of each. I'm not sure. Fusion Strike system for a couple cards. They're low on damage mods, I know that. But I think they've got some. I think they've got at least one. Ultra Ball away, thin out. Third Mew VMAX being evolved just to thin out the hand a little bit, just to draw more cards, just to see more cards. All they need is one damage mod. They have the energies in place, they have the Mew VMAXs in place. If I'm remembering correctly, I think there's one belt left. I think there's one damage mod exactly left. But it seems like they haven't found it, so it's just... Man, this match is so interesting because the Giratina V player not going to be able... Oh, and we do see the belt. We do see the last belt that Takami has access to. And I mean, this doesn't win the game immediately for Takami, but it pretty much seals it up, given that No Sones is at 6 prizes still. No Sones has no Giratina V-Star in play, has no energy in play, has no Mirage Gate in hand, no supporter in hand even. Maybe No Sones should have taken that path at some point and just hoped that his opponent missed. He is able to find a Roxanne, but it's too little, too late, I think. Takami just going to be able to attack over and over and over again. Just needs a boss or a rope now to be able to seal up the game. Jet Energy up this Comfy and then Roxanne. And there's no Mirage Gate, no Giratina V-Star, so I think that'll wrap it up because you needed both. See Comfy and Jet Energy. Yeah, the only possible way that No Sones could have won here is if they were able to get an attack off, if they were able to get the KO here with a Star Requiem into a boss's orders the next turn into Lost Impact to take 6 prizes that way and hope that your opponent misses the escape rope and misses the boss. But unfortunately, that's got to be it. There's no way for No Sones to draw into both Giratina V-Star and Mirage Gate at this point. We do see the Mirage Gate, but Supporter has already been played, so no Star Requiem going to happen. And I think that'll seal it up. No Sones trying to make sure that there is no out anymore. There is no possible way to win this game, and I believe that's got to be the case here. We see No Sones just going through this last action, looking through the discard, making sure there's no more weird win conditions. And unfortunately for No Sones, Takami is going to retreat into that damage Mew VMAX, but it doesn't matter because they are going to take the last prize of the game, and they are going to be our late night EU champion with that DTE Mew. Very impressive showing. Quite a close best of 3 overall, even though that game was 6-0 prizes. It actually was a little bit close given those Mew VMAXs were damaged, so there was a viable line for No Sones to take 6 prizes in a couple turns in, and it was pretty exciting. That will be all for the late night EU stream though. Congratulations again to Takami with that Mew VMAX DTE deck. really interesting given that it didn't do well in Pittsburgh. It didn't show up. Top players weren't playing it. If they were playing Mew at all, they were playing the Fusion Mew, respecting the Spiritomb. But does that mean that Spiritomb is now not popular enough, that DTE Mew is the best version of Mew to be playing going forward? That I don't know. Could be. Could show up in Barcelona. I think a lot of players do think the deck is good as long as Spiritomb is not in the meta. And I think we might be in a spot where that could be the case. Giratina V-Star, though, also having a very strong showing. Not only were they second place, as we saw from No So Ness in those finals, they were also third and fourth as well. So 3 Giratina V-Star in top 4, 3 Guardy in top 8, and Mew VMAX tops them all at first. And 4 Japanese players in top 4 as well, which is really interesting. That'll be all from me, though. Very, very cool top 8. Very cool to see a deck that did not do well this past weekend take it all home in a 200-person tournament. That being said, though, there is more Pokemon action to be had later today. If you are from a reasonable time zone, from the US time zone, feel free. Definitely check us out. Maybe even play in the tournament, in the NA late night tournament happening at 7 p.m. EST, 4 p.m. PST. And we'll be back for top 8 action. That will probably start around maybe 5 hours after 7 p.m. So around about 12 a.m., maybe 1 a.m., given how long those rounds run. But yes, feel free. If you are available, if it's not the middle of the night for you, definitely come check us out. Definitely play in this tournament if you can. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you, chat, for being so patient with the technical difficulties and whatnot. This is my first time casting late night, and I'm very thankful to be here. But I'll be back again tonight, and let me know if you enjoyed my casting and if there's anything I can do to improve, and I appreciate you all. That's all from me. Gonna head out for now, but hopefully see you in a bit. See you in a couple hours for that next late night. And congratulations again to Takami.